Hello, today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play on 120 FOV in Apex Legends. Kanaka, who is a former Apex Predator as well as a competitive player, tweeted out that 120 FOV on Apex is the wave, if you know, you know. He later tweeted out a tweet from his friend Temper with a little guide on how to do it. Fairly self-explanatory, however, there were a few things that he didn't cover, as well as he actually made a mistake here. He says to use CL FOV scale 1.8, which would actually be 126 FOV, and is not possible. The actual maximum FOV scale you can use in Apex is CL FOV scale of 1.7, which is 119 degrees. Not a big deal. Any scale higher than that will just go to the maximum possible, but we're just going to, for the sake of accuracy, use 1.7. So first we're going to go to our Steam library. We need to make an Autoexec for Apex. So we're going to go to Manage, Browse Local Files. We're going to go to our CFG, and right click, choose New Text Document. I'm going to name this Autoexec. I already have one, so I'm going to call it autoexec2.cfg. It's going to give you a warning because we're changing it from .txt to .cfg. However, it's not an issue. Windows just wants to make sure you know what you're doing. And we're going to open this up. If you don't already have a default program for CFG files, it's going to come up with this menu, and you're just going to choose Notepad. And if it doesn't come up, you can just search for it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put CL FOV scale 1.7 in there. And as well, it's important to note that if you open your video settings and change any video settings, it is going to reset your FOV to 110. So we do want to have a bind to relaunch our Autoexec file. So I'm going to put this, and I will have both of these in the description of the video, so you can just copy and paste it. Don't worry about typing it out. And you're going to save this file, and we're going to go to Apex Legends properties, and we need to add in our launch options, exec autoexec, and I will also have this in the description. So this will make sure to launch our autoexec when we launch our game. Alright, so now that we've made our autoexec, it's time to actually test this in game. I'm going to show you guys the differences. So right now we're on 110 FOV. Technically this is actually 108.5, but we're just going to call this 110. So I'm going to press our autoexec, and you can see we have now 119. We're going to call this 120 FOV scale. So major differences: you're going to have much bigger awareness. The downside, however, is that your enemies are going to appear farther away. So if you already struggle to hit your shots, if you're already not the most talented aimer, you're not going to want to do this. This is really for the advanced players. I really cannot stress that enough. The biggest advantage is the awareness, as well as your movement will feel better. You'll have better understanding of your own positioning. However, it's not worth it if you're gonna miss your shots. If you're already struggling to hit people on 110 FOV, it's just not worth it. You can see they really do appear farther away. Okay, so there is another consideration to take into account here. So normally on 110 FOV, if you use Octane Stim Bloodhound's ultimate, there's actually a slight increase in your FOV. So the maximum FOV in this game is actually 119. You cannot go over that in any case. However, no matter what your default FOV is on, when you press your stim, you are increased to 120 FOV, which is very confusing. However, on 120 FOV, we are already at the maximum. There's no difference at all. This is much more consistent. just to show you this with Bloodhound's ult. So on 110 FOV, you can see the slight increase in FOV to 120. So even on 70 FOV, you can see that your FOV is slowly raised to 120. And this does cause a huge difference in your sensitivity as well. So now on 120, again, you can see there's no difference now in your FOV. You're already at the maximum. This is gonna help a lot with your consistency if you play Bloodhound or Octane. So I want to talk about one other important thing, and that is your ADS multiplier. So normally in this game, the default of 1.0, you would think that 1.0 is going to be 1-to-1 between your ADS and your hipfire. However, it's not. It's actually significantly slower. It's actually about 70% on 110 FOV. Okay, so now that we've identified this mismatch in ADS sensitivity and hipfire sensitivity, let's go over how we can resolve that. So we're going to be using this calculator. I will have a link to this in the description. So we can see that you have your magnification values as well as we have our circumference. And here this is essentially an objective measure of our sensitivity, centimeters per 360. So this is just to make it objective in the physical world. So we're going to be using 1.55 for our CL FOV scale. So that you can see is equal to 108.5 as I mentioned earlier. Now this is the value that you get when you put 110 FOV on the in-game slider. 110 FOV would actually be 1.57. However, we get 1.55, so we're going to be using that value. So in order to make this 1x value match, what we're going to do is we're going to take our magnification here. We're going to put that in our 1x. And now you can see that it matches up perfectly with the 1x. Unfortunately, with the ARs, LMGs, and sniper iron sights, you will not be able to match those as the magnification is higher despite using the same 1x sensitivity. However, if you do put a 1x optic on these weapons, it will match up. So this is what we do on 110 FOV, and for the sake of simplicity, most players just do 1.32. So now with our 1-to-1 on 110 FOV, that's 1.32. You can see it's the same sensitivity. And that helps a lot with consistency. However, this number is reliant on your FOV. So when we increase to 120, it's now going to be slower. So we're going to put in our new CL FOV scale of 1.7, and you can see now that it's only 0.96, or the CM per 360 does not match. So what we need to do is take the new magnification value, so the same process as before, and once again we have matched it up correctly. So our new calculated value of 1.37, now it is 1-to-1 again. Now, if you're like me, you might use the per optic sensitivities to kind of counter the zoom. You definitely don't want to have 1-to-1 sensitivity on your higher zoom optics. However, some slightly increased sensitivity is helpful. So what we need to do is we need to find the ratio between the two magnification values. That's going to be key. So I've done the math, and I can tell you that other than your 1x sensitivity, the ratio between the magnification values is going to be just about 1.1 for all of these zoom optics. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your old sensitivity value, let's say 2.0 for 3x, and we're going to multiply that by 1.1, and that's going to be our new value. And we can see that it just about matches up. So We're gonna call that close enough. It doesn't need to be that exact, but that is going to get you pretty much on the same for optic scaling. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for me. Hopefully this helped you out. If it did, please consider liking the video as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel. Additionally, you can find my links, my Twitch channel. You're welcome to follow me there.